Let's get in there and have a good time. All right. Don't call him Terrapin. It's Fairfield County Live and Local, presented by the Sono Collection. I'm John Kamal from 95.9 The Fox. And for the first time ever publicly, yes,
That is true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
it's Red Matter. All right, man. I feel honored. Thank you guys for sitting down with me. I appreciate it. This is like the third time we've gotten a chance to hang out and talk. And but it's the first time as Red Matter. How does it feel? How does the new skin feel?
So I'll give you my opinion, but then I want the Milo and the rest of the band to weigh in here. It's something that actually was in the works, John, for a number of years, actually. So COVID was an interesting time for all of us, as you know. It gave us sort of all time to reflect, but feels great. Like it took a while. The work that JP and Paul, who will join us very soon, did to convert over all the branding and stuff was just, astronomical. But I got to be honest with you, that they pulled it off without a hitch, and we'll see. I think we've gotten really positive response, but everybody's got their own opinions. I love it. What do you guys think, Milo?
Well, for me personally, like when I initially joined you guys about 2 years ago, like I had no idea that this was the direction that we were going to take, but it's been so much fun because with making this change all together as the group we are now, we are all in on it. Like the name change, that choosing the name, we're all in on it. The way we're writing our originals, it's open to everybody to work on it. And it's just such a cohesive, like welcoming project that it's exciting. And I'm along for the ride. And I think, yes, it was a big risk to take, but I think it's really going to pay off for sure.
Yeah.
Rick, you're like the oldest member of the band, other than the founders. What do you think about this? I know it was difficult for you, but what do you think now?
I hated throwing away anything, but we're not. Terrapin didn't get thrown away. It morphed into Red Matter.
And I think that's a great way to put it too. I'm sorry, but I love the fact that you said that. It's not throwing anything away. Continue. Yeah.
Well, that's it.
Okay. All right, well, good. That was concise.
A few
Great.
words.
I like the way that the seven of us have pulled it together to the point where we're kind of developing songs on the fly. Somebody will have a nice idea, and everybody throws in their 2 cents, and we have a song. And that's been really interesting. I've totally enjoyed that piece. I first joined Terrapin because I wasn't playing enough Grateful Dead music. Well, I'm not playing enough Grateful Dead music now, but I'm playing some Red Matter music.
Isn't that a bummer? Isn't that always how it goes?
Yep.
Looking to play some Grateful Dead. Join the Grateful Dead band. Grateful Dead band stops playing Grateful
Well,
Dead.
luckily our originals are very kind of Grateful Dead inspired, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I actually want to talk about that a little bit in a little while, because I agree with you, but there's a limit, and there's a definite Red Matter sound that's starting to emerge that I've already noticed just from listening to your singles. Before we get into all of that, though, for people who might not be familiar with the new direction you're taking, or who may just be hearing about Red Matter and not know a lot about Terrapin, give me just a quick history of who Terrapin was and who Red Matter is now.
JP, go ahead.
Why? Thanks.
Called out, JP.
You can't give me the easy one, huh? Yeah, I don't know. I guess Terrapin was a Dead band, right? Like, so we did Dead covers, and that's what we did. We tried to do those the best way we could, and then we just decided that we could do them our own way and play with those songs. Didn't have to stick, like, I guess if you think about the Dead scene, like everybody kind of subscribes to like an era of the music, or tries to do the Dark Star thing where they'll come out and do the Watkins Glen repeat, and you just get in this cycle of stuff and nothing new happens anymore. And I think part of that evolution took us to where we are now is kind of the idea of like, well, you can play that song like sideways 11 different ways the other way, but like it's still the same song. So when we started to sit down in our locked in basements and houses during the pandemic and say, okay, well, let's try something different, it took us here. And at one point we were calling for gigs, and it was like, well, we have a Dead band. And it's like, well, okay, but we're not really doing that anymore. And the more and more we ran into it, and being that Terrapin's so synonymous with the Grateful Dead, we couldn't we couldn't go in the direction we wanted to go with that name anymore. And then to get us to this process, I mean, I'll tell you, John, we probably have a list of 300 names we tossed all over the God's green earth before we got to this one.
Right.
It was the easiest, smoothest process.
Listen, all I can say is if the band made it through that transition, then we're going to be around for a while, because it's like it's like if you're still you know, I don't even know, you know, if you can live through this, you can do anything. But we did, and we're here now. And it's been a fun process. I mean, all that, you know, somewhat suitable drama aside, like building something and creating something is a lot of fun, and doing it with this group has been a lot of fun because everybody's so kind of accomplished in their own way that it's not like a heavy lift. Nobody has to teach somebody how to do something. It's kind of like, hey, I got this idea, like you said, like what do we add to it? How do we build it? To Rick's point, like writing songs is really easy in this band. You know, Jeff, when it comes to, you know, just form, like we're a rock band, so we write rock songs. You know, what do they sound like? Do they sound like the Dead? Maybe some. Do they sound like the Radiators? Maybe some elsewhere. Like, I think
Maybe
there's
one that's Santana-y.
Yeah, like you know, I feel like we're in an area of the country that probably has more to do. And I said this to you privately, probably in some of our conversations. I feel like we're more like in a New Orleans type of vibe based on being so coastal and having the shellfish business out here and all the other things that go on, you know? So like, I think, you know, I like to pull a lot from that style of music, the meters and all that crazy stuff. And I think everybody kind of takes, like Jeff's out in Colorado, so he's got that Midwestern vibe, and everybody kind of takes something from what they love and adds it to it. And that makes it its own thing.
Well, yeah, and we have. God, that's funny. That's a good reference too, because I remember us having that conversation. It's a melting pot of cultures in the tri-state area. That's such a small. Connecticut, especially, such a small state with such a dense population that you're going to get a lot of influence coming in one way or the other. So when did the first conversations about original material start?
Jeff, Paul, and I had a dinner in, I think it was November of 19 or October of 19. It was around the time we were making some personnel changes, and we probably had a lot of drinks that night. And Jeff threw it out there, hey, why don't we do originals? And we sat on it until probably the pandemic. And at that point, there's nothing left to do but kind of invent. So we kind of steered the ship in that direction. And you know, that's the story. I mean, and
then we started to kind of the live streams kind of gave us an opportunity to, I don't know if you want to say debut them, but test them out without any negative reaction possible, because there was nobody in the stands. So it was like the worst we could get was a nothing, and that's what we were getting for everything. So
you could just turn off the comments. It's beautiful.
Exactly. And so we got them out there, you know, a couple of them out there, and then we sort of reworked them. And then I think, you know, bringing you know, when Doug joined the band, which is very recently, now he brings a whole new style to this, which he comes from, and I'll let Doug introduce himself, but he comes from a more of a classical music genre, and just all these melting pot things, all this mix of new influences always adds dynamically. And now it's taken off. Look, let me be clear. The Dead will always be part of our history, and it will always be part of what we do. But the originals themselves lend so much to our ability to mix up set lists and to do things that are original. We already tried it once, I think in our last show, or it was 2 shows ago, I don't remember. We did 4 in February. One show where we did an original, we went into a Grateful Dead song and we came back out of it, back into our original, which that kind of interplay is what we're all about. We love that free form improv, and these songs sort of lend themselves, not all of them, but most of them lend themselves to that. And then combine that, John, with what's going on. We've talked about this in the past, but Connecticut is such a scene right now, and there's so much great jam band music coming out of that we fit right in, I think.
It's definitely the time to do it. It's definitely the time to do it. Well, and I mean, and Doug, you should speak to this too. What's it like, Milo? You can talk to this too. You've only been in the band for a couple of years. You know, what's it like being a new member of a band that's been around for a long time, but is going through such a period of transition?
Well, for me, it's just been a fantastic ride. This band is in full stride. I mean, they're at the a pinnacle right now, and they're all incredible musicians. And making this transition for me, I just feel like I'm Red Matter now. Okay, I didn't really have any history with Terrapin, although I love the catalog. I love everything about Terrapin. But for me, it's just, moving right in. So, and these guys are so talented, and everyone has been great. And it's just been an easy thing for me to slide right in.
And I'll speak to that too, because I'm not as fresh as Doug, but especially when Doug joined, he and I kind of really connected over still being the newbies. But really with anything we do, what's for me personally has made it so comfortable and smooth is, yes, we're a band, but I really feel like I have another family. Like the way we each care about each other outside of the band, outside of the shows, outside of the songwriting, we really care about each other as people. And having that connection just, again, makes it easier to take on these, these risky moves and to be on stage at a big show like our sold out Bijou show. Like that could be a little intimidating for me still, but because of the personal connection we each have outside of the music, it just helps with being more comfortable. And I think the people who come to our show can see how we're able to read each other and how we just enjoy performing together as a band, not just to perform for the audience. So it's just that family mentality just really makes anything feel less daunting to take on and more exciting, honestly.
Yeah, Aaron's been with us. I think he'd be the most transition guy because he spent a couple of years with us as Terrapin and then has now transitioned. So what do you think, Aaron?
I'm fully embracing the change. So I'm going to harken back a little bit to the previous question that JP answered because I think it's important. When I first joined Terrapin, we weren't only playing Grateful Dead. We do a lot of other really cool covers even before adding the original material that kind of made this band very unique. And we also approach the Grateful Dead music, a lot of it in a very traditional sense, but we do everything a little bit differently. I mean, just by the nature of my instrument in the group, I don't really play a Mickey Hart role in the band, even though I'm the second drummer. I play like much more Latin style percussion. So it kind of changes the feel a little bit to begin with. So I think that it's a really natural thing to now progress into adding the new music. I think it's a
great point. It's a great point.
Yeah, because I agree. Like I feel like any song that we took on, even if it's like one of the most well-known Grateful Dead songs, we constantly, every time we would do cover a song, we made it our own, even though it wasn't an original. Like we never played it the same way twice. We really just put our own flavor into it.
Yeah, we exchange lyrics. We do double harmonies. We do all things that other groups don't necessarily do. But we did it because it was fun. Number one, and number two, we're trying to. And John, we've had this discussion. It's like we're trying to feature as much as we can, sort of an originality to material. Because honestly, if I was in the audience, that's what I'd want to hear. You know what I mean? I'd want to pay to see a band that gave me something interesting and, got me emotionally connected with the music. So that's how we sort of approach it.
Well, and you guys always kept the energy up too, which I got to tell you, I appreciate, because we all know there's two different types of Dead bands. And, and listen, not to mention any Dark Star orchestras, but sometimes it gets a little bit slow. That's all I'm saying. So I've always appreciated that.
As the driver of that tempo, you're welcome.
That's right. So
yes, JP, you get all the credit.
I appreciate it.
And just to call Doug out for a second. I mean, the guy came in for 2 rehearsals and then went on the road for 4 gigs with us. So if he hasn't quit by now, man, I mean,
Doug, you're stuck with us. Sorry, you're not going anywhere.
I mean, for me, when I first joined, the real thing that hit me were the originals. Like I just bang, they came out of left field to me, but I really connected with them. And when I started hearing this music, it just created a passion. Like, for me, that was really, the kind of the jumping off point. And, everyone knows the catalog with the Dead, but these originals were just so interesting for me to jump into. And
Yeah, we were actually working on one this morning.
Yeah, I know.
Back and forth, which is pretty cool. And and then but we're doing some cool stuff. I mean, Aaron is going to knock down a new cover for our Bijou show. We were working on that this past week,
Right.
and there's all sorts of cool stuff out there, John. There's so much good music,
Well, tell me about these songs, man, because I've got, the two singles that I'm gonna play tonight on 95.9 The Fox is Hole in My Heart, which is streaming now. And the other one is Northbound Train. And I've got my own, thoughts about both of these tunes, but tell me, as a band, what made you guys want to put Hole in My Heart out as the first single?
That's a great point. I think it came down to looking at the 4 or 5 that we have now sort of ready to go. And remember, these are live singles. These are not studio produced, but we hired some incredibly talented folks to take our very, very fraught live mixes and turn them into something that sounds pretty darn good. So that's a cool thing. But Hold My Heart was one, it gets an enormous reaction, live. Milo just slays it. And when I wrote the song, I wrote it with this sort of, simply put, sort of a, pit of despair, and then come to the realization that life's actually real good type of feeling. And she just nails it emotionally. And so I think that plays really well to what we want to sort of say. And secondly, it's slightly different than anything we've ever done. And so with that sort of Latin flair to it, it's got a great rhythm section. Aaron,
Definitely not slow.
not slow.
The way I want to jump in, because you just mentioned Aaron, the way you and Aaron play off of each other in the jam part of that song, like the more and more we play it, the more like Aaron, just the percussion with him. And I remember our Thursday show of that run in Jersey, the way you guys played off of each other. It's just different than any of the songs that we have.
Yeah. So it just made sense to kind of get it out there. Interestingly enough, John, since that recording, the song's actually changed a bit. Not much, but it's
Always
changed.
does, right.
So it always does.
Always
It's
does.
part of the process of getting this out there, playing with it, get it road tested. And then ultimately, once we get them out over the summer, we could eventually go in the studio later this year, and the songs will have matured a bit, right? And then they'll be ready to kind of grow into their own. And I think that's when we commit them to vinyl.
Well, it seems like a statement just about, the direction that the band is going in, to put out something that has, some immediate noticeable stylistic differences from the Dead. You're putting Milo out front, instead of, keeping the male vocal, at the fore of the band. Was that intentional?
Yes.
Or was it okay?
She looks better than the rest of us. So.
That's fair.
Not better than you, Rick.
Sings better too.
Yeah, I mean, look, vocally, we've got 6 people in this band that sing, right? Everybody on this except for JP, although he can sing too. But the reality,
But not well.
But
Damn.
the point is to try to get those songs, that can feature different parts of our band. And I think that's actually really important because the audience doesn't get bored. You get a lot of different looks. Rick sings some great stuff, and he unbelievable backups, but he sings some lead stuff that we've written. Aaron and I are working on a couple of tunes right now that you'll hear this summer that are phenomenal. Doug's now singing for us. So, I mean, it's a pretty cool thing to have these choices. Make set lists kind of difficult, but we'll get there. Yeah.
Right. So where did, we've talked a lot about the fact that it's a name change, and you've already said that this was like a huge, crazy process. Where did the name come from? Tell me about the name Redman.
Right. I'm going to let Milo give it to you, but I'm going to tell you the backstory first, because JP was not lying. There were literally 300 incarnations, and it got testy. Okay. People are I mean, I'm going to be the arbiter here. People are nutty over their names, okay? And I get it. But
A lot of feelings, a lot of emotions.
But here was the lesson learned, and I'll never do this again. Never try to solve something this important without getting together. It was all done over text and email and secret phone calls and all this other crap. So what eventually happened was I said, this ain't happening anymore. I called everybody to my house for a long evening. I was going to lock the doors. Nobody was going to be allowed out until.
But has lots of wine and fancy cheese.
Exactly. I had all this wine lined up. We were ready to go, right? 15 minutes it took. Why? Milo, go ahead.
So there's a couple reasons. One, initially, so I'm a Trekkie myself. I love Star Trek. Jeff loves Star Trek. Not all of us are Star Trek fans, but within one of the movies, there's a substance called red matter that creates a black hole. And the concept that I took from that is it ignites like a new path. You are just sucked into the cosmos to all new possibilities because you got sucked into a black hole. So for me personally, that's where I got red matter, was from Star Trek, which is a favorite of mine. But the concept of what that meant, the creating of the black hole, igniting a new path, was a concept that we could all agree on. And I liked it. I thought it sounded pretty cool, and we all agreed. And we did some tweaks because we started with red matter, added some numbers, changed letters, but we just stuck to red matter. And what it represents for me and for us, I think, is pretty much what we're doing right now on our journey. So, how'd I do, Jeff?
I agree. I totally agree.
You guys thought about putting numbers in there too?
Yeah, there was all sorts of permutations.
It's gonna be like red matter 182.
Super easy and
184
smooth,
actually,
and
but
no
nice.
buttons were pressed. It was beautiful, easy.
Yeah, that's basically it. It literally took 15 minutes. I was like, okay, what are we gonna do with all this wine and steak now? And so we just
I took care of a lot of that steak.
Only one thing to do, Jeff. Only one thing to do.
Take it down, baby.
He literally gave me 2 huge Ziploc bags of steak leftovers and potato leftovers. It was beautiful.
And you guys are signed now, and this is so much fun. So tell me about this new label that you guys have signed with. How did that partnership start?
Okay, so I guess you heard that we've been writing obviously throughout the whole thing. So I was back channeling songs to friends of mine at small mom and pop labels. Hey, what do you think of this? Producer friends of mine. Hey, what do you think of this? Is this okay? What would you change anything? Like just pressure testing it with some people I know. And
even the mixers, JP, like the guys who were mixing the stuff, thought it was, had
a lot of studio folks, and one of my friends kind of came back and said, you know what, I've got my label kind of resting underneath the parent label I work for. Can I put it out? And we talked about it, and it kind of we're very much a do-it-yourself project, so we just wanted to be able to do it ourselves and live or die on the sword, and he was all about it. Like, go for it. I said, we're going to do a lot of live recordings, we're going to mix them down, we're going to put out singles, and that's kind of the trajectory for the year, and maybe go to the studio at the end of the year and see how it goes, and what do you think? And the response was, do what you want, send me what you want to put out, and we'll take care of it. And it was a very, very fair deal. I'd say, it reminded me of thinking about Dave Matthews' deal with Korn back in the day, where every record label in the world went up to them and asked them for everything in the stars, and they said, no, we just want the distribution.
Right.
And they signed for the distribution. So I was like, all right, great. I just want distribution. We don't need marketing. We don't need creative. We don't need, producers. We all know enough of them. Engineers, we all know enough of them. And we got some great talented friends that we plan to work with down the road, so we just needed the distribution, and nobody does CDs or vinyl anymore. Maybe we do a collector's edition down the road, but I think that's a little cost prohibitive for how music's being consumed now. So we just did it.
Is there? Are there plans for an album, or are you guys just going to be sticking with? Okay, all right.
Yeah. I think first and foremost, the kind of, let's just call it the plan we loosely subscribe to, and anybody jump in and tell me otherwise, but is we've got a great live recording rig. Our priority is playing live,
Yeah.
and getting that experience out there. Very much all of the Grateful Dead, you know. So why try to doctor it up in a studio and make it too clean? Because I think some of the you'll probably call it out. There's a lot of really good rough stuff that happens there, and I think that's where your originality comes from. It's not from the polish, but from the varnish. So
yeah, and John, I mean, this goes back to my earlier point about road testing stuff. I mean, not to steal from the Dead, but look, we're certainly influenced. But if you recall, In the Dark was put out in '87, I believe, but those tunes debuted in '82, '83. So they were 4 years in the making before they actually went into official studio. And part of that was on purpose. Part of that was because they were just touring so much, to be honest with you. But if you listen to the versions that are actually on that album, the Road had an enormous impact on their final sound. That when they first started being played to where they ended up on that album are not two different things, but they're darn different. And like a lot of our tunes, a tune like Northbound Train, which you're going to play tonight.
That's right.
That jam is now starting to develop. That's a monster of a jam, right? When we first started playing it, it was like 2 minutes, right? And so now the question is, how far do we take these? Where do we go with them? Burnout Bright, one that Rick sings, that I love. I think it's one of our, most unique songs because it's got this interlude in the middle, which can go in a million different directions. Well,
that's the one where we started Burnout Bright, went into Wharf Rat,
Yeah,
and went all the way back.
I just made me laugh because I'm thinking to myself in one of my initial discussions with the label, they're like, "Do you have like 20 minutes worth of music? Because you need a minimum of 20 minutes worth of music." I was like,
give you a song.
I'm like,
Which
We could
song?
ask for 20
Dude,
hours.
dude,
and
pick
you
a
would have
song.
still been able to say yes.
They all
20
find
minutes.
their
I'm
way.
like, you got it. We got it.
Yeah, but we've got our singles too. I mean, like, I don't see Hole in the Heart being, we could take it to 5-6 minutes. That's fine. But it's a single. It's designed to be a single. And, a new tune that I'm writing right now, it's 100% a single. It doesn't even have a solo in it, frankly. It has a bar, but that's about it.
We like those.
And other ones have, 15-minute interludes, just the way it is.
Well, it's funny. I mean, with being a band that likes to throw an extended jam section in there, it's a very 2022 way of putting your music out. I mean, get the single, have the good live recording technology so you can put the single out, but then let that song, be road tested for a little while before you actually do bring it into the studio. It's smart. It does. It makes a lot of sense. Plus, then you get to make money on the same song 2 times. So look at you guys go. Look at you go.
Yeah, all 0.0006 cents per play.
That's right. That's right.
Listen,
Everybody's getting rich off that streaming money.
Exactly.
we got 1/11 of a cent 7 ways, man. That's gonna
7 ways too, right?
Gonna be rich.
Well, speaking of the live show, you guys have the grand reveal of Red Matter coming up on 4/22. Not too long from now less than a month at the Bijou Theater, which is your home turf at this point. That's the stomping grounds.
Yeah.
What can people expect from that show?
It's going to be a killer show. I mean, we're energized, obviously. I think now that Doug's been road tested, he's much more comfortable. We threw him into, some pretty interesting situations, including the casino up in Mohegan, which we pulled off somehow. Although they basically turned the electricity off at 9:30.
Started on that. It was 9:26.
That's right.
That's what it is.
Anyway, so the show's going to be great. Look, it's 2 sets. It's going to be full. The one thing about the Bijou is it is our home turf. We feel like it's, we can kind of let loose a bit. And so there'll be 2 long sets, fully expecting to play all the originals, if not a couple of new ones that have never been played before. And then a great mixture of some GD and some other stuff. As I said, Aaron and I worked on a new cover, which is really cool too. So all sorts of great stuff in there.
So you're getting all of it. You're getting the Dead and Beyond, to steal another band's slogan, and you're also getting the new stuff, the Red Matter stuff too.
That's right. Yeah, it's a gonna be a dance party.
It's gonna be every time we've been at the Bijou, minus the stream where there was no one in the building, the energy has always been so high. The support and that we've gotten at the Bijou has just been so epic. Like some of my favorite shows I've ever done have been at the Bijou, and I just know it's going to be a huge party and a big celebration for the steps that we're taking now. And it's going to be, I can't wait. It's going to be wonderful. I'm so
The
excited.
kids are gonna love it. The kids
right.
are just
And
going.
I'm back home for the summer, so that would be nice.
Oh, nice. All right, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, hey. Sorry. There we go. Back. Yeah, so Red Matter tonight, 95.9 The Fox, 9 p.m. You can hear 3 songs. So I'm gonna be playing Hole in My Heart. I'm gonna play Northbound Train and Light of the Moon.
Nice.
And,
Which Light of the Moon? Yeah, play the Light of the Moon version if you can. With do we have that one out, JP, or no?
We haven't dropped it yet, but I mean, I could send you a link, John, if you.
Ooh.
With the horns, with Crispin
you
on
guys
horns.
have horns on it.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Awesome.
All right, yeah, send it to me.
Okay. I'll send it to
But yeah, that's happening tonight, 9 p.m., 95.9 The Fox. So if you're watching right now, you can listen to Red Matter, all original Red Matter stuff, tonight at 9. And guys, thank you so much for sitting down with me. Congratulations on all your success, on all of this new stuff that's happening. And I just can't wait to see you live.
Thanks, John. Always great to talk to you.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
man.
Pat.
Appreciate it, John.
Thanks, John.
You got it, guys. All right. If you're in Fairfield County, you can listen to all of this on 95.9 FM. If you're not, you can go to 959thefox.com. You can stream it there. Thanks.